Hey y'all, and welcome back to the channel. I am going to show y'all this new pattern that I have found for some of my donation blankets. If you've been with me for a while, you know that I crochet lap blankets and donate them to a local women's cancer treatment center. So I'm always looking for fast, fun, pretty patterns, because I try to make at least once a month or one blanket a month or sometimes two. So found this really cute pattern and I've never seen it before. You guys probably have, but I was super excited about it. So I wanted to show it to y'all today. So for this particular blanket, you're going to need blanket yarn, and I'm using this Burnett from Yarn Inspirations. And I'm using this for the demo. This is not the one that I used for the blanket that I made. I'm going to show y'all that toward the end of this video. And y'all, it's so pretty. It's Yarn Bee. But it is a number 6 super bulky yarn. And, but I had this, so I wanted to show it to y'all. And you're going to need a needle, of course, to sew in your ends, some scissors, and you're going to need a 15mm hook. Now, this is the biggest hook that I have. I've never used this size before until this project. And I tell you, it was a little intimidating for this big needle, because I thought, wow, this is going to be super weird. So we are going to go ahead and get started. Now, I'm only going to make just a little swatch thingy, or a little, I'm not sure what you call it, because I'm, still learning all the things. Am I making a swatch? Is that what I'm doing? But I'm going to pull out some of the yarn and get it ready. But I'm so excited to show this to y'all. I haven't done crocheting video in a long time, because as you know, here on this channel, we do a little bit of everything. I'm still making my hats and all of that, but I wanted to show this to y'all for anybody that may be looking for a pattern. Now, this is really easy. A beginner can definitely do it, which is why I love it so much. I'm going to take a little sip of coffee here. Look at that cute little cup, y'all. I know you've seen this before. It's actually, it says this chick runs on chaos and caffeine. I don't like chaos, but it's a cute cup. So if you're an advanced person, you're going to fly right through this. But if you're a beginner, I'm going to show you how to get started, because like I said, this is definitely beginner friendly. So we're going to start by making our slip knot. And to do that, just grab the end of your yarn. And what I do is I just wrap it around my fingers like this. Or I take it and I wrap the yarn like that. And then I just slip the hook through, make a knot. Pretty simple. So I get the yarn, pretty, not tight, but it's not so loose, because this is a 15mm hook, and it's really, look how pretty it is. And it's a big one. And it is hard to get used to well, it was hard for me to get used to using it, but, because it is the biggest one I've ever used, but I really like it. And I got this at Hobby Lobby is where I got it. I think it's Yarnology or something like that, but see if there's a name on it. Nope, I don't see a name. Really pretty though. Okay, so for this pattern, you want to make your chains in multiples of 2. So I'm just going to actually do 14 for this particular demo. So there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And like, you can see how much I struggled with it, because this is just, like I said, a new needle size for me. And it's kind of hard to get used to. So I've done this in multiples of 2, which I have 14 chains. And you can see, even with this bulky yarn, they're not super loose. So at first I thought, wow, there's going to be super loose stitches, but they're not. So really neat. So again, for this pattern, you want to do it multiples of 2, but you want to add 1 for your turning, or for your so you can get started. So I've done 15. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the second chain from the hook. So this is the first one, and this is the second one. If you're not sure, you can open it up and just kind of see what you are doing. So pattern is going to be made of half double crochets and slip stitches. And if you're like me, you probably thought, what the heck? A slip stitch? Yes, so it's going to be half double crochets and a slip stitch. So to make your half double crochet, what you're going to do is yarn over, and then we're going to find that second chain from the hook, which is right here, slip the head of the needle or the hook into it, grab that yarn, pull through. You're going to have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. And like I said, even me, I've been doing this, using this hook for a while now. It's a little hard to get used to. In the second chain or the next chain, this is where you're going to do your slip stitch. So to slip stitch, you're just going to stick the head of your needle or hook in there, grab that yarn or yarn over, pull through, and then you're going to pull through this loop here on your hook. So you're going to pull through, and that makes your slip stitch. Your next stitch is going to be your half double crochet. So we're going to yarn over, put the head of our hook through that next stitch, yarn over, pull through, have 3 loops on our hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3. The next one, we're going to slip stitch. So we're going to put our head of our hook, yarn over, pull through, and pull through. Now, when I did this the first time, I had to play around with the number of stitches or the number of chains that I started with to make sure I got the blanket the right size, and I still made it too big. So that was a slip stitch. So the next one is another half double crochet. So we're going to yarn over, find that next chain, stick the head of our hook in there, yarn over, pull through, 3 loops, yarn over, and pull through. This yarn is like butter. All right, get to the next one. We're going to slip stitch the head of our hook, yarn over, pull through, and pull through. And it's really hard to see right now, but this does make a really, really cute pattern, and you'll see it when we get on the next row. All right, so that was a slip stitch, so we're going to yarn over for our next half double crochet. The next stitch is a slip stitch. Oops. I think I got too many there. I'm going to make our slip stitch, our half double crochet. Slip stitch. Normally I would pause, but I'm not going to, just because there's so few stitches here. So it's a half double crochet and then a slip stitch is the pattern. That is the pattern. And there's a lot of tutorials. Okay, so I'm coming down. This right here, this is our slip knot, so you won't be going into that one. So the last chain that you have should be a slip stitch. If you mess up your count, that's okay, but you want to have a slip stitch at the end. If you had a double crochet, then you would just start with a slip stitch when you go to the next row. Okay, so what we're going to do now, at the end of each row, we're going to chain 1. And we're going to turn our work. Make sure I got enough yarn over here. Okay, so we're going to turn our work. That's what it's looking like. Not too pretty right now, but you just wait. Let me take a sip of coffee. And that's the reason I chose to do it on camera instead of pausing and coming back, because I want you to see it. So we ended the row with a slip stitch. So when you turn your work and start on your next row, you're always going to want to start with a half double crochet. So we're going to chain or yarn over, and then you see the 2 V's on top. We're going to go under those 2 V's like so. And it looks like you have 4 loops on your hook when really that's just your V there. So we're going to yarn over, pull through that stitch, that V stitch. We're going to have 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. I struggle with that first one every time. All right. So the next one, because that one was a half double, is going to be a slip stitch. So you're going to go under those 2 V's right there. And it's hard to see on this color yarn, but that's the V's, or that's the top of that stitch that you made earlier. So to chain to a slip stitch, you're just going to go under those 2 like that. See those 2. Yarn over, pull it through, and then pull it through the yarn loop on your hook. So there's your slip stitch. The next one is going to be a half double crochet, cross over or yarn over, go through those 2 V's, grab your yarn, pull through, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through. Slip stitch. It's hard to do this for me on camera, but it's really hard to do it with this big old needle or hook. So you can kind of see the top of the stitches. They have those V's. You can kind of see that there. And those are the stitches you're going to be going under. And you can tell that I ended on a slip stitch just by the way that it looks. So like sometimes if you have to walk away, then you can come back and say, okay, that was a slip stitch. Or that was the small stitch, or whatever you want to call it. All right, so we're going to do a half double crochet. We're going to yarn over, go under those 2 V's. Yarn over, pull through the V's, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. So you can see how easy of a pattern this really is. And if you're just, I mean, I sit in the den and I watch TV. I watched some of the Super Bowl while I was doing this. It's just a super easy, fast pattern to work with. Now, if you notice, when you get to the end, if you want to do it, you know, like I've done mine, and make sure that you always end on a slip stitch. If you don't, then you know that you've messed up somewhere. And I have had to frog a row and go back to the beginning because I ended up with a half double crochet on the end of that row. And I just wanted to keep it concise. So to the end, slip stitch. And the yarn color here for me is really not the best, but because it's kind of hard to see, but you can start to see what it's looking like. And I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do a couple more rows. Always end on a slip stitch, chain 1, turn your work, and then again when you start the next row, you're going to start with a half double crochet. And when I first started doing this pattern, I thought, oh, I'm not really liking the way that it looks, but I promise you, when you get a couple of rows made, y'all, it's so pretty. And with this bulky yarn, it's going to be so warm. And like I said in the beginning of the video, I make these and donate them to local cancer centers. So these women that are going to be using this are going to be super, super warm, because this yarn is warm, but just the pattern is a little tight. And even with this big old 15 bulky or 15 gauge, I can't get my words right this morning, y'all. 15 millimeter hook. But it's just a real easy pattern. And if you are a true beginner, you can definitely do this. I have nothing but confidence in you. Now, like I said, I made blanket size, but this is just a little practice swatch thingy. And I recommend doing that. I've never been a fan of making, you know, like a little swatch size, but I've started doing that with more and more just to see how I'm going to work with the yarn that I'm using, because I will say this, not all yarn is best for all patterns or for all creations. Like I made a hat one time using this really super soft yarn, and it was terrible. It was the floppiest hat ever. And I did not like it. All right, so I ended up again with a slip stitch. So we're going to half double crochet to start. And I like how the row at the end of the rows are kind of tight, which is why I'm only chaining one. If for some reason you don't like the chain one, you want to make a chain two, go ahead. But the original pattern that I found called for one chain at the end when you're turning your work. But like I said, guys, this works up so fast, so easy. But I do think too, it's all about the color of the yarn. And I can't wait to show y'all the other color that I chose for the first blanket. Oops. Now see, on that one, I didn't go under both V's. And you can tell when you don't go under both V's. So very easy pattern, half double crochet, and then slip stitch, chain one, turn your work. Really easy. Really, really easy. And depending on the yarn that you use, you could use like a really nice 6 bulky weight. Now, if you wanted to use a different yarn, like maybe not a 6, if you wanted to maybe use a 5, I would use a smaller needle or a hook. I don't know why I call them needles. I would use definitely a smaller size because you're going to have big old gaps. But you can see how the pattern is starting. It looks like little waves. So that's pretty much it. Let's do one more. But you always end the row with a slip stitch. And then when you turn your work, you're going to start with a half double crochet. So it's super pretty, super fast pattern, easy for the beginner. You know, if you're wanting to make something and impress people, I think this would be a really great pattern to do that with, because I'm telling y'all, when you get finished with this, or when you start to see it like come alive, it's like, oh my God, this is the prettiest thing ever. When I was doing it and I was sitting on the sofa doing it, and I probably got maybe 5 or 6 rows in, maybe 10 rows in before I realized how pretty it was. And because I like to keep things pretty consistent when I'm making them for the shelter. I like all the blankets to look the same. And I got in, I was like, oh my gosh, this pattern is so pretty. So when I'm making it, I always, do it too, like, okay, half double crochet, slip stitch, half double crochet, slip stitch, half double crochet. So I make sure that I keep everything pretty concise. And look at it on this side, y'all. And like I said, this yarn is not the best, but stay tuned. I'm going to show you the blanket that I did made. I'll be right back. Okay, y'all, here she is. And look how pretty she is. It looks like little scallops, but see how pretty that is? And I just think, this is a 6 bulky weight yarn, and it's just plain beautiful. Look at that. Both sides look really good, and I love how it kind of looks like little waves. And it's, it's really tight. Well, it's not really tight, but it's tighter than I thought it was going to be using this big 15 millimeter crochet hook. But y'all, it's so pretty. I love it so, so much. This is Yarn Bee, and this color is Orchard something. I'm sorry I didn't bring it in here, but this so far is 2 skeins. It's going to be 3 skeins for the lap blanket. I made it a little longer than I wanted to, but the yarn is pretty soft. If you've never used it, it's pretty soft. I actually think I like this yarn better than the brunettes. The brunettes is a tad more fuzzy, but y'all, I'm telling you, this blanket is absolutely gorgeous and warm. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, need any help, drop it in the comments below. I'm by far not a professional. I'm just, you know, lover of doing this because I do donate blankets and hats for local charities and things. But y'all, you got to try this pattern. And it's all about the yarn. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Till next time. Bye, y'all.